Okay, here we are back with step 5 of the sourdough saga. Here's the bread after it has risen. We're going to remove the saran wrap and bake it. And generally baking, it's a trial and error based on your oven. All ovens are a little bit different. So with mine, I'll be baking it with a toaster oven. 2 loaves at one time and then one by itself. And I've generally found that 350 degrees at about 27 minutes does a pretty good job for me. But let me get this saran wrap off. It can be kind of tedious without removing it without disturbing the bread because you can deflate the bread just by removing it. And generally I spray the food service film with canola oil also, but I didn't last night, so this may be tricky. Okay, we were able to get the plastic off, and none of them deflated. One thing I did notice in the center loaf, when it rose, there's a big gash in it, which I think is part of the interesting nature of baking sourdough, since it is naturally leavened. You don't ever know what you're going to get. So I've got the oven heated to 350 degrees. So I think I'm going to start by putting 2 loaves in for the first batch. And we'll see how that looks in 25 to 27 minutes. We're about 5 minutes into the cooking process, and you may notice that shortly after you put your bread in that it will rise way up, but don't worry about this. It will die back down and shrink, so don't let this bother you. Alright, here's about 15 minutes into the cooking process. You'll notice that it has shrunk back down to somewhat normal size. It's still a little higher than when we put it in. But I wish you could smell it. Okay, I've taken the first loaf out of the oven, and now the fun begins. Note the sarcasm. Getting it out of the pan can be difficult. Well, difficult without tearing it. There's one loaf. Let me grab the second. Perfect. And you always want to use these bread racks, because if the bread sits on a flat surface where no air can circulate under, it'll get soggy, and that's just no good. So if you're going to bake bread, definitely invest in some kind of bread rack so that you can let the bread cool, and that it'll be nice and firm and crisp all the way around. Now what I'm going to do, probably off camera, is brush the tops of these with a little butter, and that brings out the flavor and makes it look prettier. So what I've done is I've put the other loaf in, and it's by itself, but it is a bigger pan. So give that 25 to 28 minutes. It may take a little longer because it's a thicker gauge steel pan. So just use your eyesight, and when it's got a nice golden brown color on top, then it's generally done all the way through. But that's baking sourdough bread, and you need to try it. It is delicious. And it's a fun process. Even though it takes 3 days to do, it's a good time. None of the steps take more than, like you've seen, 5-10 minutes. It's just, seems like every 12 hours you have to do one of the steps, and it can get aggravating if it's a busy weekend, but I mean, look at what you end up with. Yes. Anyways, thanks a lot for viewing. I appreciate it. You thought I was going to let you get away without seeing what it looks like with butter on it. Look at that. Delicious.